We live in a time where the political ground feels like it's giving way. If you held moderate or classical liberal views a decade ago, you might feel entirely politically homeless today. Think of figures like Elon Musk, who famously noted his views haven't moved much since 2010, yet the Democratic Party left him behind. Personalities and political parties are merely the surface. The real disruption occurs further upstream, where our foundational ideas about culture and meaning are fracturing. The chaos is actually a symptom. It is downstream of a massive fault line cracking open in our culture, a breakdown in how we build meaning itself. Over the last 200 years, Western intellectual thought quietly abandoned the business of building things. Instead, it became obsessed with tearing them apart. Try to name a modern philosopher who has given society a widely embraced, optimistic vision for the future. The thinkers who dominate academia today aren't offering moral frameworks to bring us together. They're specialists in destruction. We call this deconstruction. It operates as a cultural acid, taking the foundational ideas of classical liberalism, things like objective truth and individual merit, and actively eroding them. The obvious question is why a society with the highest standard of living in human history would willingly adopt an intellectual operating system designed to dismantle the very structures that made it wealthy. To understand the weapon, we have to look at 19th century Europe. Thinkers like Friedrich Nietzsche proposed that there was no such thing as absolute truth, only varying subjective perspectives. Later intellectuals like Michel Foucault took that premise to its logical endpoint. If objective truth doesn't exist, Foucault argued, then every human interaction must be understood entirely through the lens of power. Under this framework, society is rigidly sorted into two inescapable camps: oppressors and victims. There is no middle ground, and individual actions matter far less than group identity. After World War II, these theories were smuggled across the Atlantic. They took deep root in the American university system, mutating into critical theories designed to actively deconstruct history, gender, and the concept of meritocracy itself. Prominent atheists once assumed that if society moved away from traditional religion, a warm humanist creed would naturally fill the void. Instead, this aggressive, grievance-based philosophy moved into the empty space. But bad ideas need a fertile environment to grow. In a free market economy, innovation and competition reliably produce material winners and material losers. The critical breaking point arrived with the 2008 financial crisis. When the system broke down, we protected the winners by bailing out the institutions at the top. We effectively privatized the gains of the boom years, while socializing the massive financial losses onto the public. This chart shows exactly how that happened. To stabilize the economy, central banks introduced quantitative easing, injecting vast amounts of money into the financial system. This inflated the asset values of people who were already rich, while the purchasing power of everyday wages flatlined entirely. Simultaneously, globalization and free trade policies were actively displacing millions of workers. We celebrated the raw efficiency of creative destruction, but we completely ignored the people it left behind. When a large portion of a democratic society realizes they can no longer participate in the nation's prosperity, they stop supporting the system. They actively look for tools to dismantle it. Ideologies that justify tearing down systems gain purchase when those systems stop producing winners. Deconstruction offered the disenfranchised a way to attack the core logic of meritocracy from the flanks, using the academic language of power to challenge a prosperity they could no longer reach. The most tragic casualty in all of this is the younger generation. Millions have taken on crushing debt for university degrees, only to emerge financially hobbled, cynical, and trained to view their own culture as a series of historical crimes. Our internal instability is colliding with a rapid expansion in artificial intelligence. This technology is already beginning to multiply innovation paths and resource availability faster than thinkers and philosophers can keep up. A civilization paralyzed by internal grievance and busy erasing its own history is completely unequipped to navigate a future moving this fast. We have to stop tearing things down. Society must pivot entirely from deconstruction to reconstruction. That requires recovering our confidence in free markets, that's strictly tying them to good governance and civic virtue. We have to actively care for the people whose livelihoods are disrupted by the march of technology. It also demands an uncompromising defense of the truth. When society tries to compel lies about basic biology or history, speaking the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Figures like Jordan Peterson have demonstrated the immense personal cost of refusing to be gaslit, but also the absolute necessity of holding that line. We need our schools and universities to return to their original purpose, teaching critical thinking and grounding students in the classical ideals of the good, the beautiful, and the true. If we can translate those foundational ideas into a clear, optimistic vision, we can stop the cycle of endless grievance. We can give the next generation a genuine stake in a future worth building.